So why is strength training important for runners? If you know me, you know that I think of strength training as the most important thing that any runner can do. I don't even think of it as cross-training, I think of it as part of your training program. But often runners don't do the right type of strength training. Runners need to lift weights in a certain way, prioritizing many different elements of strength. When it comes to strength work, there's really three major goals. One is absolute strength, the ability to lift heavier weights. Two is power. That's the ability to create a lot of force in a short amount of time. And three is durability, the ability to withstand running without injury. So stick around to the end of this video because I'm going to talk about the reasons why lifting weights and doing strength training is so important for runners. We'll talk about my three biggest mistakes that I see people making, and we'll talk about my 5 rules for lifting, things that everybody should be doing, things that you should be incorporating into your strength training program.
Ready? Let's go. We did a flat today. We're doing a hill. Tomorrow.
Tomorrow's what?
Tomorrow we'll go on a hike. Fuck.
When it comes to the three major goals of lifting weights for runners, really the durability question is really the easiest to get to. Any strength training program, as long as you're doing it consistently, should help you improve your durability, help you avoid injury. And that's a good thing, considering the annual injury rate of runners is anywhere from 50 to 80%, depending on the source. But the bad news is a lot of forms of strength training aren't going to help you as much when it comes to building power or building absolute strength, which are really the factors that will help you improve your performance, help you run faster, help you run stronger. So we want to think about strength training as a way to not only just make your body more robust and more resilient to injury, we want to think about that performance aspect. Building anaerobic power and capacity means you can maintain a higher intensity for longer periods of time without feeling like your lungs are going to explode. We're also going to be able to work on improving the mind-muscle connection, the communication pathways between the brain and the muscles. By doing that, we're going to increase our running efficiency, which will allow us to save some energy as we're running a little bit faster. If we're able to maintain that same pace without using as much energy, we'll be able to go for a little bit further, a little bit longer at that same speed. So when you need that extra boost in power at the last charge, the last 100 meters of your half marathon, your 10K, 5K, whatever distance race you're doing, you'll have those power generation capabilities as well. So all these qualities translate to faster runs, stronger runs, the ability to be robust and train into your race, come out of your races, still feeling healthy, ready to go for your next run, and not take any time off. I can't think of anything better than that. So with that said, let's go into the 3 biggest mistakes that I see with weight training for runners. Strength training mistake number 1 is taking the grab bag approach to strength training. Inconsistent, random training. Can't really call that training, can we? It's more of just grab bag of exercises. Just like you'll have a running program to help you run a little bit faster in a structured, thought out way, we're gonna do the same thing for your strength training. We wanna make sure that we're not overworking the muscles, but we're also gonna make sure we're not underworking the muscles as well. And this also helps keep us very consistent with our training. If you're just following this grab bag approach, it's easy to miss a week, which turns into 2 weeks, and then before you know it, it's been a month since you've seen the weight room, and maybe you're gonna lose some of those benefits that you had built up. Strength training mistake number 2 is lifting like a bodybuilder with like a bodybuilder split. We wanna remember our purpose for strength training. It's to become a better, stronger, faster runner, not a bodybuilder per se. When I was playing baseball, I was following a bodybuilding program for many years. And while this was good, I was young, I was new to weight training, I was new to lifting, so it was pretty easy. I could still get benefits, I could still get results from that. But as I got more advanced, those bodybuilding routines weren't cutting it anymore. I needed to work on building power, dynamic stability, more sport-specific goals. As runners, we also don't need to isolate certain body parts. For example, we don't need to do a leg day followed by maybe a bis and tris day. We want to be able to develop runner-specific strength. As an athlete, we want to think of our body as an entire unit, not just specific body parts that are cobbled together. Weight training mistake number 3, relying on stability and high endurance strength training. I've seen so many runners falling in love with this stability work, balancing on a Bosu ball and then doing a squat on top of that, wobble boards, other stability tools. Functional stability, it's a great idea in theory, but it's missing the point. Remember, our number 1 goal as a runner is to be able to create more force to push off of the ground with each and every step. So if you're pushing off of an unstable surface, a Bosu ball or a wobble board, you're not gonna be able to generate the adaptations necessary to build force, to build strength and power in that movement. Okay, so now that we talked about the 3 biggest mistakes that I see when it comes to weight training for runners, now let's get into my 5 rules, things that every single runner should be doing, should be incorporating in your programs. Rule number 1, lift year-round, but know when to back off. Throughout your training year, you're gonna have different periods where there's gonna be areas where you're gonna be running more, and there's gonna be areas when you're gonna be running less. So on those times, let's say before a race, you're gonna be starting to ramp up your running. As those running miles start to add up, you're gonna be cutting back on your strength training. That's gonna allow you to maximize your recovery from your runs, but also not cut into the performance, especially on your speed work days. But with that said, so when you're in that training cycle, building up to your big race, you still wanna be able to lift once, maybe twice per week at minimum, just that way you're not losing strength. You wanna stay strong throughout that training cycle, just like you'd stay running in the off season to avoid getting rusty. Rule number 2, choose smart exercises. Compound over isolation. The strength and mind-muscle connection you build from compound exercises like your squat and deadlift definitely help you more so than, let's say, curls. If you're new to these, I recommend working with a coach to instruct you on proper and safe lifting techniques for these exercises. Single leg variations like single leg split squats, single leg deadlifts, and lunges are also important for developing dynamic stability, which is also important for increasing your running economy. Rule number 3, train to failure. This is a big one. Back in the day, back when I first started lifting, there was always talk in the gym. This was sort of the bro science. If you lift light weights for high reps, that's gonna give you your toning, whatever that means. And then if you were to go somewhere between 3 to 5 reps, really heavy, that was gonna give you your athletic power. And then somewhere in the middle, 8 to 12 reps, that's for hypertrophy or growing the muscles. Well, this seems to be false. There was a study that came out last year that says, well, it doesn't matter. Your muscles don't know any different if you're lifting high weights for a low amount of reps or low weights for a high amount of reps, just as long as you're going to failure or near failure. You want to feel like you might have 1, maybe 2 more reps in the tank at most at the end of your set. Kind of makes sense if you think about how weight training and strength training works. As you lift weights, you're creating these microscopic tears on the muscle fibers. When the muscle fibers heal, they heal stronger. So the muscle doesn't know any different if you were doing a lot of reps to build that failure point, or if it was a short amount of reps, those microscopic tears are the same. The only way to do this wrong is if you don't go to failure. If you just lift a lightweight for a low amount of reps, you're not creating a whole lot of change in those muscle fibers. Rule number 4, lift weights with ballistic intent. So I talk about this a lot. This is building power. When you are in the squat, you've got the bar on your back, you've got your dumbbells here, maybe down by your sides. You drop down to the bottom of your squat. From the bottom of your squat, you want to explode up, press up through the heels. Good, strong exhale as you come up, and then you take it back down nice and slowly. So I like to do a 1 count up, explode up, and then maybe 2, 3 counts down. So nice and slow on the way down, you're building strength right there, and then you're building power as you create a lot of force over a short amount of time. By doing this, you're going to preferentially recruit your fast twitch muscle fibers, which will help your power generation for times when you really need to push off on that last mile. Rule number 5, Plyos, Plyos, Plyos. Frog squats, jump squats, skater jumps, high knees. These are all forms of explosive body weight exercises called plyometrics. Plyometrics can help by making your joints and tendons less stiff. When your foot lands with each stride, there's some elastic energy that's stored in the joints and tendons. And the more you're able to utilize that energy and push off, the more efficient you become in your running. And Plyos will help with that, not only by helping your muscles and joints and tendons become less stiff, but they'll also help you create that mind-muscle connection. So there you have it, my 5 rules for creating a proper strength training program, my 3 mistakes to avoid if you are at all worried about gaining too much mass, gaining too much muscle. Don't worry. The high ratio of your running versus strength training, that's going to create a barrier, a physical limitation. Your muscles will simply not grow in that instance. These bodybuilders that you see, these huge bodybuilders that you see, they're doing everything in their power to create the proper conditions for muscle growth. Among them is doing very little amounts of cardio, or very low intensity cardio, which is the opposite of what we're doing as runners. So if you haven't tried incorporating strength training as a consistent part of your routine, give it a go. You'll decrease your chance of getting injured, and you're gonna increase your performance over time. It's a win-win in my book. So if you have any questions on where to start, shoot me a DM at MackeyRoot on Instagram. MackeyRoot@gmail.com is my email. You can reach me there at any time. This is something that I do every day. I build strength training programs for athletes, regular people alike, and I help my clients achieve levels that they never thought possible. So with that said, have a wonderful rest of the day, and I'll see you all soon.